it to you, which is not a thing. Okay.
The headline read, "Mass detentions show bias against black youth." Words from opposition Senator Damien Crawford as he explained in the Saturday Gleaner just how the state of emergency is affecting our young people. He joins us now to follow up on that article. Good morning.
Are we following up with him?
We following up with him.
Morning.
Morning. Welcome to Smile Jamaica. It's morning time. First of all, why do you think
well,
it's such an issue?
First of all, the headline misunderstood my statement because I did say poor youth.
Okay.
Because we don't have racial prejudice in Jamaica, we often assume we don't have prejudice in Jamaica, which is not so. Prejudice is directed to any demographic. So therefore, you can have prejudice against women as a gender demographic. You can have prejudice against a socio-economic demographic. You can have prejudice against a race. Race is more defined because it's clearly identified. It's black, white, whatever. While you can't really identify social economic situation unless you see evidence of it. So it is so. So when I said that in America there was a Black Lives Matter, I wasn't saying Jamaica is a racial prejudice. I was saying that the poor is as marginalized and is as prejudiced against as is the black in the United States.
So you think they're just scooping up majority male poor young men?
Well, not just think. We actually detained 1,300 persons, of which we arrested 61. So that's a hit rate of about 5%, meaning that there is no information that's directing those who are taken other than where they're from, how they look, and their age. So that was proven in New York to be basis of prejudice because they had something in New York called a stop and frisk. And the stop and frisk was directed towards black and Latin American. And the court found that while stopping and frisking isn't illegal, the targeting of those persons and the hit rate of 1% made it to be unconstitutional because you're targeting these people. So therefore, we found that to be a problem. Now, it's important for us to understand because many Jamaicans say it is working, the state of emergency is working.
So I was just about to say, what do you say to the people who are saying, these are casualties of
because
what is ultimately
there's a general misunderstanding of what's the state of emergency. In Montego Bay now, 3 things are happening. 1, there is the influx of the security forces. 2, there is the curtailing of movement through a curfew. And 3, there's a state of emergency, meaning the invocation of emergency powers. Now, simultaneously in Denham Town, there is the influx of police, there's a curtailing of movement, but there's not the emergency powers, both of which saw a reduction in murders. So therefore, it can be assumed that the police presence and the curfew are the ones, the variables that are causing for a reduction in the opportunity for criminal activities because it isn't, the state of emergency powers isn't in Denham Town and the outcome is seen in Denham Town. So when you say, okay, we embrace the state of emergency, they're putting all 3 variables in place, but the state of emergency isn't necessary for curfew and it isn't necessary for the police presence. So therefore, the assumption is incorrect. What is also incorrect is that it is working. Now, what is the working? We currently have turned off the pipe, but we haven't cut off the water. So you have a situation where, as I said, you have not removed the guns. Only 18 guns have been found. More guns have been found outside of the state of emergency than inside of the state of emergency. So therefore, we have not removed the variables that are causing criminal activity. The criminals have not been caught because only 61 persons have been arrested. Now, we know the turnover rate, maybe 20 will be convicted, right? And we have not removed the guns, only 18 guns.
Have some criminals not been caught?
I'm sure some have been caught. But what happens when you have something like this, which we have warned against, is that there is a destabilization of the criminal elements, which move into other spaces.
Which is what has been happening.
Which is what has been happening. So, for example, we recently found one from Montego Bay. He was in St. Catherine. Now, what is risky about that is that they move into communities that were not originally criminal communities and attract persons to their lifestyle, being that those persons are not used to that type of lifestyle and are in awe of that type of lifestyle. So we saw that happening, for example, when there was a target of Montego Bay for drugs. This is not the first time we have targeted areas. And that target of Montego Bay, we have seen now where Westmoreland, Hanover, those areas have become criminal areas that were not criminal areas before that.
No, yes, I was going to say that one of the things that I think people are concerned about is you stop them, you detain them, what is their access to legal support?
Well, by extension of the fact of their income, they have very limited access.
Legal aid?
Legal aid, which some persons have questioned the commitment of that. But also we have assigned an individual as a defender, a public defender. But again, we have 1,300 with one individual. But what I learned at university, we had a thing that we call ragging. And you had all the first years and they were punished for any problem given by one. So all was punished for one mistake. And we all hated the others and loved each other. So when you punish a community, right, with those within the community that are not participating, you pretty much give them the opinion that might as well, it's us against them, which then gives you less information to the police, which gives you less cooperation because they were equally punished. So when we say there's a criminal community, it's like saying Jamaica is a white country. Jamaica is not a white country because the minority people are white. So to say a criminal community are assuming that the majority are criminals. And that's not true. Jamaica is a black country because the majority are black.
It's usually the voices who speak the loudest that get heard. So
yes, but the assumption that there's a criminal community has led to the targeting of communities. So unless we correct that assumption, then it is a problem.
So let me ask you, because there are some people who are going to be watching and saying, what is wrong with Damon Crawford? He's just always opposing for the sake of opposing. We need the SOE. Good things are coming from it. The communities are saying we feel safer. Does that not count for anything? And if not, what is the right way to do this?
As I've identified that in the ZOSO, which is not a state of emergency, we have seen the same outcome. So therefore, without the emergency powers, the results have been found. The results have been found by having a lot of police in a space. The results have been found active police and a curtailing of activities. So therefore, removing the rights have not been the verb of change. So therefore, why is it that we're invoking that removal of rights? Now, one, a government wants to say we're hard on crime. If you look at any movie, if you look at anything, being hard on crime is politically beneficial. And an opposition don't want to say that we're fighting
isn't it
being hard on crime.
Good for the nation to be hard on crime?
Yeah, but to be hard on crime is to actually target the criminal, not to target 1,200 non-criminals.
But how do you know? So how do you? So what I'm asking you is how you know who you're raking in. So do you stop and say hi?
No, by the hit rate.
Are you a criminal?
No, you know by the hit rate. So for example, if I go fishing and I get 95% lobster, I couldn't say that I went to fish for crabs.
But this is after you've already caught.
That's what I'm saying.
So how do you decide that when you're flinging in your net, that you're making sure you're picking up fish?
By intelligence, by being targeted, which is what they found in New York, for example. That the simple fact that you had a 3% hit rate mean that you weren't being targeted, that you weren't using information. So what I'd like to see, for example, that you go to a panel of 3 judges and you say, okay, Damon Crawford is an enemy of the state. And if so, the judge agree, then you target Damon Crawford. You then remove his rights. You remove the rights to bail. You remove the right to trial in front of a jury. It might be tried by judges only. You remove the right to having to face your accuser, where the person might be able to do a video. So you target that individual. Because what we have done is to seek those who hold the guns and not seek those who own the guns. And that is a problem, because they'll find new holders of the guns.
So you're saying we need to target both?
Well, you need to target in particular those who own the guns, because if you can remove the supply, then that is where. So when you arrest only those from the inner city communities, right? I mean, when we were looking for Dodos in Tivoli Gardens, he was not found in Tivoli Gardens. He was actually found in another space with another person. Also, we went up into the uptown community where we I think it was East Kirkland Heights or whatever, where they were shooting up a house assuming that he was there. So therefore, how is it then that we continue to say that the source of the crime is those persons? So therefore we have an issue.
There's a U.S. report, Damon, I don't have the full details. I saw Greg Christie tweeting some things from it saying that the U.S. believes that part of the challenge with crime and corruption is that we are targeting the people at the lower level, but that there are people in our society, the big man them, as we may call them, that are in fact the ones that are funding crime. They're the ones that we can't seem to get around, and that's who we should be targeting.
Well, that's a fundamental point that I'm making. As I said, you go after the holders and not after the owners.
Right.
And not only the holders, you then punish everybody associated with the holder just by his demographic reality.
Is there political will to do that? Because this is a problem of
once in Jamaica, we did that.
When?
When we went into Montego Bay for the drug kingpins.
When was that?
The Ramcharans.
Was I alive?
Yeah. Peter Phillips was the Minister of Security when we cleared Montego Bay. And we got a lot of assistance from the United States in clearing Montego Bay.
Well, we haven't done it for a long time. And I think Jamaican people believe that it's because a lot of Be careful. Some politicians are also some of the puppeteers behind what's going on.
And the public accepts that poverty creates crime. And therefore, what the fight against crime, the public perceives, should be a fight in the poverty areas.
But there are politicians who put guns in the hands of poor people.
And I agree.
As a means of control.
But
and they've created these monsters that cannot
remember,
be controlled.
if 63 people lead 2.7 million people astray.
You always said that in
But something is fundamentally wrong. So
something is fundamentally wrong.
So what we have to target is the mindset of the 2.7 million people. We're saying 2.7 million. You have been incorrectly informed that poverty is a cause of crime. Causation needs two things. It needs direction, shared direction, and it needs majority outcome. We have not seen that.
So while you change that mindset,
by coming and smile Jamaica.
How do you hold the politicians accountable?
Every 5 years, we have an ability to hold a politician accountable. Every 5 years. And we have not taken it.
I'm with Damien
so therefore, if you're in disagreement...
we have the ability to do it every 5 years.
And we cost the same people, but they have been there for many years.
So
we vote for them every single time.
Go out and get enumerated.
So that's what I'm saying. We have to really now change the mindset of those who are holding the
we need to start do some things that are meaningful, though, to actually hold those
and read
folks
more.
To
we need to start reading more. We consistently just jump on. For example, let's say crime is not a political issue. That's foolish. Anything that have to do with policy implementation or policy development is a political issue. It should not be politicized. It's a different story, which means that you take it for your political advantage.
Is that what you're
doing?
But
it's a political issue. No, because most people disagree with me. That isn't for your political advantage. But I'm trying now to educate. Yeah. But they've always come around, you know. I've come to find.
Oh my God.
But I mean, a leader's responsibility is not just to follow the crowd. It is to analyze to see where we might be going, what are the pitfalls, and then to provide information to say, consider this as a possible pitfall. Okay. And I am not uncomfortable in that position.
Okay.
Well, I join the other 2.6 little bit to say we're tired of crime. And whichever way we can solve it, stop it, minimize it, we hope God knows comes together and agrees and gets it done.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
As always, appreciate you being on. Opposition Senator Damien Crawford.